In this one, I'm going to look at a very old, 32-year-old for that matter, Panasonic VHS hi-fi machine. This is a PV4760. Say, very old, has no picture. Let's see whether we can figure out why. I got an old VCR. This is a really old one. This is an old PV4760, if I'm not mistaken. Hi-fi VHS. Very, very old, beat up. I even have the manual for this one. So we're going to see if we can get this thing working. Don't know whether it's going to work or not, but we'll try. Now, for those of you wondering how old this unit is, it's 32 years old. It's certainly not the oldest machine that I've got. I've got machines that are older than that, but it's up there. We'll put power to this thing and see if it even turns on. So I've got a pre-recorded tape here. That part works. As you can see, this one here does not thread the tape up immediately. It doesn't thread the tape up until you press play. But that part's working. But we have no picture. Nothing. Wonder if the heads are clogged. I'll just use my... Oops. I just caused it to stop. I slowed the drum too much with my finger on there. I'm just going to try and get my fingernail in here and see if I can just clean the heads. Maybe it's a clog. If I put it in pause, kind of get a bit of a picture. How about search? Nope. ×2. Something kind of there. But nothing to write home about. It's a snowstorm.
You know what?
Aha.
Those special effects that are all around.
So sound works.
Yeah, I heard things over here and over here. It's like I was in the middle of the action. Exactly.
So we have no video. Let's take a look at the RF coming off the heads and see if there's any RF coming off the heads first of all. Now on this unit we actually have a service manual, so we can follow along in the manual, and that's why when I found this manual and I found this machine, I thought this is a good one to go over, because well, we can go over the signal path and see where the signal goes and how the signal originates and track down our fault. Okay, looking at my RF output, there is none. We look on the schematic diagram here. We should have RF here on output here, pin number 11 down here. Ignore that, that's for a different head amp, which has got a different configuration. Our playback signal is pin number 1. We trace pin number 1 on the print here. Pin number 1 should be our playback voltage, which if we follow it, if I can find my highlighter here so that I can draw on here so you guys can follow along with me. So here's pin number 1. Pin 1 goes up here. Pin 1 goes through this coil, this capacitor, and provides power. Gotta trace it through here. If we trace it through, it provides the VCC power. You'll see it at the top of the screen on pin number 9 of IC4401. It also comes down to pin 22 of IC1501, and it is correct when it's in play. There is power to the IC, and the hi-fi audio is working, so we know that that part works. One of the interesting things that I've noted is that even though I have no RF,
2 questions, and that'll help me understand exactly what you're...
the hi-fi is working. I have very low RF. Like in freeze frame, it looks like it's seeing one of the 2 heads. So it could be a bad head. Could be a bad head on here. I guess we can always pull the head and see if there's any damage, any physical damage to the head itself. Looks like this was changed at one time too, because it looks like the connections here have all been resoldered at some point. could pull the head and take a look underneath the head and see whether the head itself has any physical problems, like if the coils are open, for example. The chips themselves, I can feel them there, but they might be worn. One of the reasons I was interested in seeing if I could get this old beast going is just because this is one of the better chassis that Panasonic made. This was made before they went to the type of chassis that stays loaded all the time, and they tend to be pretty reliable. But the heads that they used of the day were not very good. Panasonic had some of the faster wearing heads of all the VCR manufacturers on the market. So it could very well be that the head is worn out. And they say this one looks like it was changed once. This is the upper drum. Here's the rotary transformer, which connects over to the preamp board. You can see the wires here going to the rotary transformer. These fine wires that go from this little circuit board over to the transformer itself. Let's look on the bottom of the head here and just do some continuity measurements and see whether there's any open coils on any of these heads. These two heads here are the two audio hi-fi heads. We know that because there's only one head chip on each one, but these other ones it's a 4-head design, so there's 2 heads here, 2 heads here. These are your SP and LP heads for your A and your B field, and these ones are your hi-fi audio heads. So we'll first check and just see whether there's continuity. If there's no continuity on the heads, then we know where the problem is. Problem will be on the head itself. So let's check the first one here. Got continuity there, which is good. Now, continuity does not mean that the head is good. It just means that the coil is not damaged. So all the coils for the actual heads themselves all have continuity. We'll do the same thing for the rotary transformer, the top part of the rotary transformer. Make sure there's continuity between all of these pins here. So we have continuity to the top part of the rotary transformer. That's the part that spins. We're going to check to make sure that we actually have a connection through to the head preamp. So we'll unplug it, and I'm going to undo the screws that hold the preamp on. We'll remove the preamp, and that way we can test for continuity on the lower portion of the rotary transformer. On this unit, we're facing one of a couple of different problems. It could be a bad head that's just not putting out any signal, which is always possible. It could be worn down to the point where the heads themselves are just not putting out any signal. Or it could be a connection problem somewhere between here and here, or it could be one of the components on the preamp is not working properly and we're not getting proper amplification. Here's the preamp itself. I've de-shielded the preamp so we can see the ICs. One of these ICs is for the hi-fi audio, which is that one over there. This one here is for the video. And of course it's got a couple caps on here which I'm concerned about, that maybe we have a cap that's gone bad and it's keeping this thing from going into the proper mode for playback, and we're not getting the proper gain on the head itself. I'm just going to put the head disc back in place. Actually, I'm going to inspect these first of all close up just to see if there's any chips on them. So let's get the camera in real close so we can get a good inspection on the head. So this is about as close of a shot as I can get with my camera. I'm certainly not using a microscope or anything, but we can certainly get a good look at the head itself, and it does not appear to be physically damaged in any way. I mean, it still could be worn, right? But But looking at it, there's no chips to the head. We'll go over to the audio head. There's one of the hi-fi audio heads there. And if we rotate it around some more, there's the other video head, and it does not appear to be damaged. You can see the two separate heads. And then the other hi-fi audio head there. I don't see any physical damage to the heads. That doesn't mean that there isn't any, but I'm just saying that typically if someone's bashed a head or something, you know, if they've been cleaning it with a Q-tip or something, there's physical damage done to it, and I don't see any physical damage done to the head here. Without the extra bright lights, just with normal lighting, that's what it looks like. So, not sure which ones are which, but there's continuity on that one. Okay. I would expect there to be continuity between some of these other pins. I'm not getting continuity. I got continuity only between these three here, which are the hi-fi. I bet you these are the hi-fi. I'm not getting continuity on the video head portion of this connector on the lower drum. The plot thickens. I guess we're going to have to remove the lower drum and investigate that. Maybe the problem is this little ribbon cable here is damaged in some way, shape, or form. Like possibly it was rubbing against the part that spins and it got severed. Interesting. Let's pull the drum apart and see. I'm just going to put this head out of the way for relatively safekeeping because I think the head's okay. Let's remove the drum, the lower drum assembly, and take a peek at that. Now, one thing I will say, in my career of servicing VCRs, I never had a lower drum fail, ever. And I serviced a lot of VCRs over the years. So if this is bad, if this rotary transformer is bad, that's going to be a first for me because I've never seen it happen. Remove the 3 screws that hold the drum in place, and the drum should just drop out, which it did. Just unplug the power plug. That's for the motor on the bottom, and now we need to look at this flex connector here. Of course, I don't know how the drum actually comes apart, or even if it does come apart. These are normally something you would change as an entire assembly, so I don't know. It should lift apart. If I take out this bearing retainer, it should lift out. I think pull that way. Also, this is a magnet, so put it away from where anything. If you take one of these apart, put it where nothing can fall on it and contaminate it. Otherwise, it will destroy the stator, or the stator. That's the rotor. So it'll destroy the stator coils. So let's remove this, and it's a washer, and another washer here. So the 3 washers, I'll put those out of the way, and now this should lift out like that, which it does, to reveal the bottom of the rotary transformer. This is the side that goes to the heads, and underneath it is another set of coils. And as you can see, I should have continuity, and I'm not getting continuity, and that's why I'm wondering what the hell happened to this lower drum. Is it this flex cable that's damaged? Is it damaged in here? Because these are just coils of wire. So there's got to be continuity between all of them. There's 6 sets of coils. And there's got to be continuity between them all. And I've only got continuity between 2 sets. Right? So there should be 3 and 3 because there's a common for each one. Right? There's a common for each of them. So there should be 3 sets of continuity, and there's a 0. Let's see the meter here. Where's my meter? I'm just in continuity mode here. And so it'll beep. So I get a beep here and a beep on here. That's the common one. This should be common for the next one, right? We should have a common, so it should be beep, beep, which is not, and we should have another common here. Beep, beep, which is not. I'm just, so there's a problem in this lower drum. Wonder if I can get this piece out. I don't know how it's held in place. Whether it might just be glued in, and if I throw some heat on there, it might come apart. That might be something worth trying. Is I'll throw some heat on this thing and see if the glue will melt, and whether I can lift this entire rotary transformer out of here. I don't see anything that looks to be broken, both on camera and as a visual inspection. I do see some crap around the edge of this here. Looks like there's some corrosion there, right down on the edge there. I wonder if that has something to do with it. I don't know where this circuit board, how it connects. It must just go into this area here, I'm thinking, in the front. This flexible board must connect right in here. Not designed to be serviced. This is designed to be replaced as the entire lower drum, but that's not going to happen. I wonder if I throw some heat on that, whether it'll come out. I'll go get my heat gun and throw some heat on that thing and see whether it's going to come apart. I've just been heating this thing up and it's red hot, but I think I can get it out. Ah, there we go. There we go. Got the thing out of here. Hot, 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 hot. It's just glued down. So let's just see why this thing, where these open connections are. Maybe it's right here on the edge. Let's see where the connections are open. Yeah, see, these are all open, but where are they open? So let's just test and see which. Okay, that one's good. That coil was good. How about this one here? Oh, this coil is open. Interesting. That's open. And that one's open. And that one's open, as is this one. And these are the actual coils. So it's actually the coil of wire. But where? Where are they open? We're talking a rotary transformer failure on this thing. I've never seen that happen before. Ever. I guess it's possible, because it looks like it's happened on this. It looks like the only two that are any good are these two outer ones. These are the hi-fi audio track, and I know that because if we look at where they go, this is the two that were good, and we follow the traces. They go down to the end here, which these are the terminals that were connected together. One common, and then one to each of the two heads, right? There was continuity on these ones. The rest of them, there was no continuity. So these two were good. The other four were open. But it's odd, really odd, that all four would fail at the same time. What are the chances of that happening? I mean, that is just so bizarre. So you've got 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, and 6. So these 3 along the middle here, they're all bad. And the only thing I can think of that would do something like this is that the glue where the wires are glued down to hold them out of the way, the glue here must have attacked the wire somewhere, maybe where it was pressed down, you know, between the other coils. But the fact that all of them are open is just the most bizarre thing I have ever seen. I could understand one failing, but 4 of them together at the same time? You know, maybe one failed and then the other 3 have gone bad just over the last 30 odd years that this thing's been sitting not being used. But the chances of that are so remote that something catastrophic like this would happen on the lower drum assembly. So obviously I'm not going to be able to fix this thing unless I can get continuity back on that rotary transformer. And you know, I mean, the chances of finding another one of these that's the same, because even though they're similar, they probably would not have the same pinout on different models. I'm just kind of picking at the wires to see if it's here that they're broken, or is it where they go around the corner here. Like, where the heck are these bond wires damaged? This is them here. Almost looks like that one might be the one that's broken. Is that where it's broken right there? No. It's hard to tell from this angle anyway. I'm just looking on the screen just like you guys are. But I mean, you can see that the wire is moving all the way across. Yet if we trace this one back here, this comes up to here. You can see it. And there's just no continuity. We measure. My meter beeps, so we know that that's working. If we measure it here, there's no continuity. I do think that our fault on this is caused by the glue that they used initially to glue these wires in place. Right? They put a glue in the track to hold the wires down so that the wires would be held down in the groove. And I think probably what has happened over the years is that the glue, like that Sony bond crap that was used on circuit boards, becomes corrosive after years and years of sitting, and it attacks the enamel on the wire and breaks the wire. I don't know where the break is. I guess if I were to unravel this whole thing I'd find it, but somewhere on this there is a break. We know that because all 4 of the video heads are open. This one's probably right in this area here where it looks like it's kind of discolored. This is probably where the break is right in here somewhere. And it's going to be the glue that they put on to put this thing together at the factory. Unfortunately, this VCR is not going to be repairable. I know someone's going to say, why don't you just rewind the wire? Oh, it can't be that difficult. It's just copper wire. Well, it can be that difficult. I'm not going to do it. It's not worth it. Even as a project, it's not worth it to do this. Yes, I realize it's just a piece of wire, but getting the right number of turns and getting the right gauge of wire and getting it glued in there, it's just not feasible to do it. Possible, but not feasible. It's too bad, because it would have been nice to get this thing working, but that's not going to happen. Not on this one, that's for sure. So I guess we'll just close this video off as a tutorial and a teardown to show what went wrong with this 32-year-old Panasonic workhorse of a VCR. I will keep the head, the upper drum for it, because I think the head is probably fine. This was a VEGS0128 was what the number of the lower drum was. Incidentally, for those that are interested, it should be about 3 ohms or so per coil, and these things are measuring like infinite resistance. Even on my 30 mega ohm range, there's no continuity whatsoever. If you look at the upper drum, you'll see that there's 6 coils on the lower drum, but there's actually 8 rings on the upper, because they had isolation. They had the 4 video heads, right? 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then they had an isolation layer here. So these are the 4 video heads. This one's an isolation layer. And then they had Hi-Fi track 1, another isolation layer, and Hi-Fi track 2, probably because the frequencies were closer and they could cross over a little easier. So they had just a grounded one that went all the way around and just grounded out the wire here to create. But you can even see on the upper drum, look at this here, you can see where the glue is starting to attack it. If I get a close up here, it's going green. You see? The glue is being attacked, or the glue is attacking the ground wire right here. That might be where the wires are actually fused together. But anyway, you can see it. It's the glue that's attacked it. The glue has attacked the insulation. You can see the insulation's actually come off there. So that's what happens on the old drum units. The old lower drum units, they just fail just due to time. Just sitting there doing nothing. The bond that they use when they put these things together is just failing over time, and they're all going to fail. Or a lot of them will, if they already have. I mean, I don't think there's too many of these machines still around, but just still interesting to see what actually went wrong with this one. Been sitting on it for a while, so now we know what happened on this. It wasn't a head that was bad. It wasn't a preamp that was bad. It wasn't anything electronics. There's no capacitors that are causing the problem on this. Just a mechanical failure of a copper wire. Copper wire is what went bad on this. The windings. That's all that went wrong. Anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you again real soon.